Hello and howdy and welcome to another Angular Air. Happy Friday wherever you are watching this live or recorded. I hope you're having a fantastic day or evening. My name is Alyssa Nicoll and I'm very excited for our guests today. But before we get to them, I'm going to introduce our panelists. We have Justin with us. How are you doing today, Justin?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
I'm ready. I'm ready for the weekend. I don't know if we're liking it. I don't know. What about you? We also have Mike. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm here and I am ready for the weekend as well. But
yeah,
we got
do you have sunshine plans as well?
I think we're actually going to have some sun here. We have had so much rain here. It's ridiculous.
Same.
So I'm looking forward to some sun.
Oh, I am very ready for the sun. Our guest of honor, very excited to introduce Alfredo Perez. How are you doing today, darling?
Hey, I'm really good, and I'm also excited for the weekend. I was traveling the last 2 weeks, so this weekend is finally to chill and be here and fix things. So it's really good.
Excellent. Have you also been getting just like nonstop rain in Texas, or
on and off?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I feel like today's the first day where it was like actually dry, even though there's still puddles in the yard. So it feels good. I'm like, I don't know. So for those, the community's been growing pretty rapidly as much as our framework's been growing. So for those who have never met you, who are new to Angular, coming back into Angular after a long break, can you give an introduction for just what you are involved in and passionate about, Alfredo?
Yeah, so I'm an Angular GDE, and I have been working with the Angular community meetup, but we had like talks and a conference, like speakers come to our meetup, and I was basically in the Spanish section of it. So feel free to join us in the Angular community meetup. And also I like to write about things. I used to write a lot about Cypress and the Storybook. Then I moved a little bit to state management with NGRX and now Tanstack query. And now I have been focusing more into AI and how to improve developer experience using AI.
I'm actually going to pull up your slides while you're talking about it because I'm very excited for our topic of today's show with AI. And I'm just excited to learn from someone who's like working on it, like in prod, like dabbling, trying things. But before we get to our topic real quick, I want to do a shout out for our sponsor. We have been getting so many sponsors this season. I'm very excited to have people funding us and the tooling and the guests and the hosts and everything, like making sure that we can pull it off. So today's sponsor is Progress. And I'm very, very thankful for them. They're the creators of Kendo UI for Angular, the component library that does exactly what you want it to on the first try. No ritual sacrifice or Stack Overflow tab explosions, just beautiful performant UI like it's no big deal. So check out telerik.com/kendo-angular-UI. But they also have other flavors in the front end. So if you're into Vue, if you're into React, I know we don't directly talk about those things on the show, but they have all the flavors. So check them out. But back to our AI stream. Alfredo, how do you want to set the scene for today's episode and our session today in the AI world?
Yeah, it's not a talk per se. I'm gonna just show how to generate rules and what are the rules. So feel free to stop me and comment at any time and we can talk about it. This is gonna be kind of interesting. If demos are something that is hard to do on live, imagine a demo with AI involved where you can just say whatever you want, but we'll see how it goes and go with from it. But yeah, do you want me to start?
Absolutely, yes. We can see your screen. It looks beautiful. So I think we're ready to dive in whenever you are.
Yeah, so there are a lot of ways to use AI, and there are a lot of tools that you can be using. Like now, even in terminals or like everywhere is the AI, right? Like you can use it just in every part of your development workflow. But I want to focus today on how to actually generate rules for Cursor, that is an IDE. And because I think the rules are like the foundation. Once you start creating more rules and setting standards, that can also help for teams to communicate like what are the things that you as a team seem like is important. and how to do things, right? Like to speed up development process. So the first thing that you can do to generate rules is actually you can go to cursor directory, and in this website you can find examples of how rules are created, and also you can generate your rules. So let's go see the website. So like for example, here you can go to rules, and then if you go to the Angular section, you can find the prompt that it has like everything into a single file per se. But also, if you want to generate based on your package file, you can go to the generate part. And then from here, I'm going to pass one of the package files that I have, and it's going to generate this set of rules based on the things that you have installed. One thing to notice is that it's creating multiple files. Like this is not a single file. The things that I want you to start noticing is that it has this kind of metadata. It has like, okay, what is the name of the file? What is the description and logs? And then it has some
Alfredo,
rules.
real quick, can you zoom in a little bit? Make it a little bit easier for everybody to see. Thanks.
Thank you. And yeah, so it has a lot of metadata, then it has some rules, and then we can also observe that it noticed that we had our XJS, so it adds some rules for it, and it goes like library by library, trying to define or find from other places what are the best practices for it. Like it noticed that we have Tailwind, so it's like, okay, let me add some Tailwind rules. So this is a perfect starting point. But what I want to show you is how to create our own rules in a way that we can maintain them, and we can start like managing more like how we want to create the rules and maintain them. So before I start, I want to show you something really quick. So this is a project that I have been working on. It's a developer toolbar inspired by Astro developer toolbar. Basically what it does is that, oh, great. Let me hide this. Basically what it does, I have a toolbar here that, for example, if you have feature flags in your project, instead of going to launch darkly or to somewhere to change the state, this toolbar allows you to, once you set it up, like you can just see all your flags and force a state on and off. Or if you want to change the language, you can change the language instantly. Like you can create these kind of tools that can help you while you are developing in your application. So what I want to do is I'm going to generate rules for my project, since I haven't generated rules for it yet. But before we start, let's talk a little bit about the rules, the rule types. So if you remember from before, we had a couple of metadata things that we can set in the rule files. And based on that, we can have 4 types of rules. The first one that we have is the global, and this applies to all the interactions. And in order to make it happen, you have to set up the always apply to true. And usually you use this for, like, for example, whenever you want to get notifications when a rule is applied or when something happened. Like, for example, I use it because I want to get notifications with emojis that a rule was applied. So I create a global rule that is always read and that it will always notify when something was used. Because something that happens, as you might imagine, is that sometimes cursor will read the rules, sometimes it won't. So it's good to have like this kind of notifications. The next type is the auto, and this applies based on the blocks. So in our case for Angular, like we can set like, okay, whenever you detect that it's a component file that it has the suffix and the extension, use this rule. Whenever you find that it's a spec.ts, apply the testing rules and so on. Then the next one is the agent. type of rule. So this one, you have to set up a description, and then based on that, the cursor will like try to find out if it needs to apply the rule or not. So like, for example, let's say that you're modifying a file that is using signals and you have some error handling. You can create a rule that says in the description, apply this whenever you are trying to do error handling in a component file. And then based on that, cursor is going to read through the rules, and if it applies, it will use it. Finally, we have the special case. We have the manual one that is for special cases. This is like something that you don't want to apply unless a condition happens. So, for example, let's say I'm working with data tables. I can create a rule for how to do data tables, and I need to manually tell cursor that I want to use this rule. So yeah, so these are the 4 cursor rule types. And next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a meta rule. Basically, this rule is gonna help us to create other rules. And the way that it's gonna do it is that it's gonna define what kind of folder structure we need to use for the rules, because we're gonna have a bunch of rules. What is the file organization, like how the rule should be structured and the format of it, and some examples of how to create these rules. So let me show you this meta rule, and we can dissect it a little bit. So here, this is the meta rule. I already have it. It's the only rule that I have at the moment at Cursor. And yeah, it has kind of, whenever this will help us, so whenever I want to generate more rules, Cursor will pick up this rule and it's going to decide like, oh, you know what, this is for a Tanstack query, so I'm going to put it under the state management, the state folder. Or this is related to Angular components, so I'm going to put this under the rules Angular folder, and so on. Then everything that we talk about related to the front matter is going to be applied as well. So like, for example, it's going to detect what type of rule it is, and it's going to say this is an always rule or this is an auto, and then based on that, it's going to set up the metadata. And then also it has like a format of what the rule should look like. Because if you saw if you remember the example that we saw the project, this is just like bullet points, right? One of the things that I like about these kind of best practices and rules is that you can share it with your team. So sometimes it's useful to not just have the bullet points. Sometimes it's useful to also have like examples, right? Like, what do you mean whenever you talk about before each or after each and stuff like that.
So before we continue, I wanted to like real quick give an overview, because I personally had never used Cursor. But I like have heard of other devs using it. So I wanted to give a couple basic definitions, and then you like add in like your enhancement of it. So like Cursor being an AI enhanced code editor on top of VS Code that adds this like project aware support. But then like the rules that you're actually talking about are these like persistent instructions, right? That are like giving the AI how to guide its behavior across different files and projects and workflows. But your meta rules, even more specifically, are like, I guess, how the other rules should behave. Does that correctly define the hierarchy of like, what is Cursor, what are rules, what are meta rules? Like,
yes, like I think so Cursor is just the IDE. The rules is like kind of the context that is Cursor going to use whenever you chat with it or whenever you try to generate something. And the meta rule is a way to maintain other rules. So like, for example, let's say you're working with state management, and then you're talking to AI like, hey, create me this new state management and do this and do that. And then at the end, you have some learnings, right? Like you define, okay, so the best way to create selectors in NGRX is by doing this format. So then what you do is you tell cursor, please add this to the rules. And using this meta rule, it's gonna know where to put it. And then it's gonna save it for later. So next time another developer comes and they wanna do selectors, they just said, hey, create me a selector, and it's gonna have the same format that you already defined.
Nice. Okay.
Thank you. So yeah, so then this meta rule, we're gonna go through an exercise. We're gonna use this meta rule to generate rules as the same way that we did with cursor directory, but I'm expecting a little bit of better results, because basically what you have here, these rules, you can just copy and then move to your project and create the rule files yourself. But let's give it a shot to the meta rule and see what we can create with it. So I have two prompts that we can use. The first one that I want to use is one based on the best practices from the Angular team that they have put on just recently in their website. And the second one is going to be a complementary prompt to add more rules based on your libraries that you have installed. So if we go to the Angular website, recently they created this using AI for development. And what I like about it is that it has like a best practices file that is super brief, where it's trying to add context on what things to do and how to do modern Angular. This is really important because, like, for example, right now, if you ask Cursor or any other IDE to do control flow in Angular, it will try to use the old things, the directives, but not a new control flow that we have in Angular.
That time and time again with multiple different LLMs, and like, so I would be so nice to have this base set of rules. This sounds so lovely.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, so this is super important because
you mentioned control flow and AI, and I'm like, oh, I get it. I get what he's talking about instantly. Okay. Thank you, Alfredo.
Yeah, this is super, like, it happens all the time, right? Like, you tell it to create a new template and then it uses the old structural directives, and then you're like, oh, no, use the control flow. But yeah, thanks to these rules, we can kind of automate all this and make sure that it follows what we intend, like to use the new signal inputs and all the new modern Angular. Another file that they created is this cursor rules. I think they posted, like, I don't know, I just found out like last week, so this is just on time for us. But this file, I have it here, and it has it's super global because it has, like, it's saying every time that you're working in a TypeScript, HTML, or a style file, like, it is for almost all the kind of files that you can be working with Angular. And it has rules for all the things, right? Like TypeScript, Angular, some components using signals instead of this. So what we're going to do, I'm going to grab all this information and the prompt that I have, and we'll see how the meta rule works. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to cursor, and then we're going to go to a new chat. I know that this might not be too big. Let me see if I can increase zooming into it.
Thank you. Any zoom would be helpful. I'm not very good in the eyesight department.
I don't know if...
But I know it can be hard with certain apps too, so Godspeed. Hey!
Okay. think we were able. Let me zoom in a little bit more and zoom out in the. Okay, I think it's a little bit more visible, but basically, anytime that you want to open the chat, you can do Command L, and then you will have a couple of modes here. This is just like ask is just if you just want to talk with it, like, hey, help me review this component or stuff like that. And agent is when you are asking for something and it's going to try to make modifications on your behalf. Then here at the top is where you can add references. Right now, as soon as you open it up, it takes the files that you have open. So in this case, it's like, hey, I have this rule open, but I'm going to remove it. And then I'm going to copy a prompt. This prompt, what it has is I copy paste everything that we saw from the Angular team. And then I am adding this prompt only, like use this rule, and let me tag it because sometimes it doesn't pick it up. So here, if I do add, I can reference files, folder, documentation, GitHub. Like this is really interesting whenever you want to generate commit messages and so on. But in this case, I'm going to go to the cursor rules and I'm going to tell like the rule generating agent. And I'm telling it to generate rules, feel free to create files, and use the following guidelines. And I just copy paste everything from Angular team. Then I'm going to let it go and we'll see what it tries to do. So the first thing that it did is, and here you can collapse and expand. It says that it was able to read the book, the rules. So that is a good sign that it was able to find it. And now it's creating the rules for everything. It created one rule based on the guidelines that we passed. And what I like about this is that it has some examples, right? It's not just like bullet points. And this is a pro and con because then you have a lot of things, right? That a lot of examples. But what I recommend you is that go ahead, generate the rules, and then keep refining. Like just go and see, like, you know what? Maybe this doesn't make sense to have this example because it's self-explanatory with this. So you can just go ahead and remove it, right?
Michael was talking about enjoying the rules that were added recently for Cursor. Are these, Alfredo, have you ever tried using them outside of Cursor? Like, is it needed? Or like, can you just throw these in any chat and be like,
yeah,
do?
yeah, you can use them. This is just like context that you're providing, right? But you can use it with other tools.
Okay.
But maybe the file format changes a little bit. Like for Windsurf, that is another editor.
Oh.
You can use it, but I don't think they have this concept about description, gloves, or always apply. But yeah, here now is going through everything, and the good thing and bad thing about it is that now we have a separation, right? Where before we used to have a single file with everything, state management, templates, and so on. Now we have multiple files for each. Then here, like for example, we have testing and TypeScript, and it's following the format that I included in the meta rule, saying that it has like a critical rules and then it goes with the example, and it has separation of rules, like creating sections and so on. So you as a developer can come here and add more sections if you feel that it needs more. But I wanted to show you something. If you here at the end, it is outputting some emojis and it's saying that it used a rule. So there is another kind of rule in cursor. If we go to cursor settings, you will find a lot of information here, like for example, the docs. If you have, you can add documentations like AG or Storybook or any other libraries that you're using. So it can have context about this documentation. Then another section is the rules. And here I have a couple of user rules that I like to set up just to have some sanity, because sometimes you don't know if it is applying or not. So I added this rule that is saying, like, after using a rule, tell me which rules were used. And this is what we see here.
Mm.
So this is helpful whenever we start creating new components. It's going to tell us like, hey, I used the component rules. And if you notice that it's not using them, you can prompt it again. And like, for example, you can say, make sure to use rules from, and you can drag and drop things from the file, from the explorer. So even like, for example, if you want to tell, hey, follow the example, follow the structure of this component, you can drag and drop the whole folder and it's gonna read it beforehand.
So with the docs, I'm super curious, like I can't read, so I don't know, like, are you just plugging in a URL? Are you like exporting like the Angular docs or the Kendo UI docs, and then just like how are you giving it that context?
Yeah, so you need to add, so you just go to the section of indexing and docs, then you can add a new doc, and usually you go to the main page for the documentation. So let's see, for example, the Angular material one, I'm gonna remove it.
Okay.
And then
Thanks for walking me through this. I was like, how does it work?
No, this is perfect. So let's go to Angular material. And I'm gonna try to look. I usually look for the starting point. They have it usually like a get started or documentation. And then from here, I'm gonna copy this link, and then I'm gonna go to cursor, and then I'm gonna say, I hope this is the starting point, but we'll see. Then
If it's not the starting point, does everything blow up or something? Like
it won't, like, it won't be able to find any documentation. But I think
okay.
but I think we're gonna be able to see if it work or not. Maybe we need to remove that guide and getting started, but let's see. So we click go, get it, and then here we can see how many pages it got. So it got 10. So I am not sure if this is
Are you not happy with that, or are you happy with that? Like, is 10 what you expected?
I think it's not enough. I think
okay.
Because I think here we have all these pages, right? So I think, so let's see, let's try another one. Like, for example, for NGXS, we have like 1,000 pages. And I think that is more reasonable whenever you have a documentation site. So let me try again. Let's see if this works. Let me just give it completely like this, just there, confirm. And yeah, now we have 200 pages. So that is better, right? So next time, if I want to work with an Angular material component, like let's say the panel, I can just go here and then tell it like Angular material, need to create a new panel, and it will read directly from the documentation.
That's really, really cool. I honestly so excited to try it just for this context alone, because there's many times where I'm like manually being like, no, I meant this in the docs, and like screenshotting docs and things. And Michael was saying, oh, that's cool. You can just grab the URL. I'm like, wow, you just changed my day, man.
Yeah, that's really useful, right? And it's like you can ensure that it's super up to date, and you can refresh the index so you make sure that it's good to go.
You were talking about dragging and dropping and like reminding it, hey, make sure you use the rules from this or from that. Do you have to remind it often? Like when you're giving it this context, do you find yourself being like, oh no, it didn't remember that rule or this thing?
Yeah, usually whenever you start in a new window in cursor, like whenever I do like control command N and then it starts a new chat, it's really good picking up the new things, and it will tell me like, hey, I use these rules whenever I created a component, and it's like, okay, perfect. But then as you keep going with conversations like modify this, modify that, it starts ignoring them, right?
Okay.
So that's why I included this rule to tell me that it's actually using the rules. And if I notice that it stops putting this emoji and the list of files, and then I start like telling them, hey, don't forget about the rules, or or go to a new chat, right?
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
One thing that is failing at the moment, and I think this is because of cursor specific file. This is not a markdown file, this is a markdown cursor MDC, but it doesn't know how to, like, it doesn't allow the update of the metadata directly by the tool. It is really strange. But usually what I do, sometimes I tell it to give me the metadata for each file, so then I can copy and paste. But just to give you an example, so for example, in this one is guidelines for components. So here I will use something like component.ts, and then whenever it finds the file, it finds that there is a component file, it will use this rule. Then for other kind of things like service state, then you can use, instead of gloves, you can use the description, right? Like whenever working in a service file and you need to do state management, and then based on that cursor, reads the description or the gloves, and then it's going to say like, okay, I need this, I need to apply this rule. The second prompt that so far we created these rules based on the standards from Angular team. Now I'm gonna do something similar to what the cursor directory did here with generating based on the package file, because I think that is also important, right? Sometimes you have component libraries or state management libraries, so it's good to also generate files for that. And I'm gonna create a new chat, and then I'm gonna copy a prompt. Yeah. Do you have a question or?
No, I was laughing at chat. And also we do have a first time live viewer, David Marshall. Hey friend, hey. So happy you're here. Sorry, my facial expressions are often for other things like people in the chat.
Okay.
So sorry.
All right. So here I have a prompt, and then I'm telling it like, hey, let's generate rules for the libraries that we have installed, and I'm gonna drag and drop the package file. It copied in the incorrect way. So let me put my cursor here and then just drag it. And I'm telling it to create a file for each library. And I tell it some things like, hey, don't worry about initialization, or if you find forms libraries or anything related to internationalization, like I'm trying to guide it, right? Like I don't want to create rules for every library. I just for the ones that I feel that are interesting.
Okay.
And here I'm telling it like, do not include anything on how to set up the library, because I imagine that once you set up the library, you're good to go, right? Like you don't need to a rule about it. So let's run it. Let's see what it generates. But
So
the
I'm
first,
assuming this is like also thinking like team forward and like onboarding and like sharing this out to people and like getting them up and running as quickly as possible, right? Because like all of these files you're generating are like a way for this to persist outside of your window and like pass it off. Or is there
yeah,
outside? Okay.
yeah, and also I think it usually for me in my whole career, it was like a dream to have always like guides and standards and best practices thing, right? But I think now this is the most useful thing that you can do with AI, that you can finish an implementation and then you can tell it to document it, and then you can use it either for rules or just for your team, right? Like you can just say, hey, this is how we do tables, or this is how we do state management, and it can just grow from there. So I think that is the benefit that I like the most from AI generated things.
I love that.
So here is going, so based on the prompt, it just picked up a couple of 6 libraries that it thought that it needed to create more rules. And we can see some of them. So like, for example, and this is the thing though, like the testing one is creating it into the testing folder, but we already had a testing standards agent. And then you can get into a battle and try to fix this with AI, but I feel that it's better just to do it manually, right? Like just
I just feel like that was a really perfect word for it. It is a battle.
yeah,
That's real too, because like you tell it something, it's like, okay, I got you, and then it doesn't do it, and you're like, no, 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 I want you to do this, and then it switches back to the other, and now you're just ping ponging back and forth, and it keeps
Yeah.
changing back to the other. You're like, no, none of that works. Come on.
yeah, yeah. I think it was like a couple of weeks ago. I was trying to fix a styling issue, and I kept going and going and going with prompts, and
You were
it
like, I am going to win.
yeah, and I was like, you know what, let me do it, and I did
Let me
it
do
like
it.
in less time, way less time, and I was like, oh man, I need
I
to.
know, but the thing is, if you break through, right, and you get the prompt that gets you where you need to go, then you kind of have this like reusable formula for the. So I see your pain. I see why you fought for it, because there are times where I'm like, there's light at the end of this tunnel.
Yeah, we can make it happen. But yeah, so now I try to be conscious, right? Like I prompted, and if it gives me the answer, like gets me to the answer like 80% there, then I stop and then I do it manually, like finish it up with cursor or the IDE, right? Because yeah, you can be just prompting and prompting and prompting for a while. So it's gonna create more. Now here is even finding like more libraries like Express SSR. I don't know why it found that.
Like, is it not in the
And
project?
it is, but
No.
I didn't even highlight it as a special one, right? Like I don't even know why I have it. But then it's telling me everything, and then it's also reusing my library, my user rule, where it's telling me like, hey, I applied some of your rules. Like, okay. So, but this is not useful at the moment because it doesn't have the correct metadata. So I'm gonna remove this, and then I'm gonna copy ones that I already edited before, so we can see an example of this working. So let me delete this rules file, and then let me copy some of them. Okay, I think they should be back. The only difference, so yeah, I'm not sure if the only difference, because every time you run it, you will get something different. But the main thing that I fix is that now they have correct description and they have correct suffix. So sometimes this is a auto rule that is applied to all the component files, or this is an agent rule that is applied whenever the description matches, and so on. I have still the meta rule to generate rules and so on. But let's do something fun. I want to create a new tool. So I have my rules for my project, and this is a good starting point. But I want to generate a new tool. So if we go back to my toolbar demo,
On your
yeah,
globs metadata, can you just put asterisk like
yes,
everywhere? Like you don't have to
yeah,
actually have a file like with like .ts or something. You can just be like, because yeah, I see you have .ts and .html. Also, is it globs or globes? Which is it?
gloves. I think it's gloves. I'm not sure.
I don't know. All right, you heard it here first.
We're becoming a pronunciation show, right? We got
I don't
Yeah.
last
know. I just
episode.
wanted to know. Can we just put an
Oops.
asterisk there, my friend?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Sorry for the derailment.
But yeah, you can do something like that. You can, instead of using the gloves, you can do always apply true, and then these will always run.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And maybe you can do, like, for example, maybe you're tired of telling that it should use a modern Angular. So you can do an always rule, including these best practices, right?
Oh, Michael said it should be glurbs. It's glurbs. Yep, there we are. We figured it out. It only took us 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
so
right.
I understand, and also the always apply true. Good way of just making a general rule. So continue, my friend. Sorry for the derailment.
No, good. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to create a tool. So a toolbar tool is basically a new kind of section here in the toolbar. And I want to create one that it help us to mock network request. So something that we can just plug it in and then modify the network request responses. So what I'm gonna use is I'm gonna create a new prompt to first understand how these tools are created inside my library. So I'm gonna close all this so it doesn't distract for now. And then I'm gonna go to cursor to a new chat window. And this is not it. Oh, nope. One second. Hopefully I don't have to write it. Nope. Okay. Not sure why it's not letting me copy this. All right. Yeah, that took some time. Okay. So
It doesn't help that you're also live streaming. I'm quite sure.
yeah. Okay, so basically here I'm telling it, let's create a markdown file. But by like I wanted to learn first how the feature flags tool works.
Okay.
And then based on that, we're gonna create like a document that is gonna help us to create a new tool. So let's do that. And it's gonna go read everything in the components file and then in the toolbar tool. So it's like trying to figure it out how that toolbar is setting up tools and what kind of components it has. Then it's creating the guide. We'll see what it comes up with.
Only good things, I'm sure. Don't worry.
Yes. But I'm going to start writing the next prompt. Basically, I'm going to create a new tool that is called network mocker that uses the network icon, and that inside has a button that says mock request. So it's really nothing. It's just like a just the starting point for a new mock request.
Yeah.
And here is what it created. So we can see actually I already had a file here. So basically what it goes, and it creates a super long document. Maybe I should try to be more concise, but it gives like the whole structure. Like this is what you need in your tool. This is how you do the component tool, and it's following exactly what I did, right? Like I created this toolbar tool component. Then it has like the structure of everything. Like I created
What? That's so cool.
Yeah, like which icons are available, so it knows how to use them.
But like once you say, yes, I want this code, do you lose this file or do you like save this whole information block somewhere?
Yeah, so I'm gonna save this. So I'm gonna copy this, and then Cursor has something that is called notepads. So notepads are more like guides on how to do things, but they are not rules that need to be applied. But these are more like, this is how we do sidebars. This is
Can
how
Cursor
we do...
see the notepads, or do you have to like reference them manually when you're having a back and forth?
We have to reference it. So for example, here I'm gonna name this toolbar tool because I'm really good with names. And then here in my prompt, I'm just going, I can do just like drag and drop as I have been doing, but I can also just say notepad is one of the sections here, and then point it to the toolbar tool. And then I'm gonna run it, and let's see what madness it does.
So is this you putting it in the notepad, or is this you accepting the code, or neither?
So here I put it in the notepad. So basically I had this markdown file.
Okay.
And then I create a notepad in Cursor here, and I copy paste all the content of that file. As you can see, it's super verbose. Like it has like styling things. Like I think it read all my files and it's like, let's grab everything from there. But okay, so even the testing and everything, like it. But this is really good once you have, like for example, if you're in your development environment with your team and you have one component that is like, this is the perfect component, then you can create a notepad from it, and then you can tell it, review this component or make changes so they match.
It's like your source of truth, right?
Yeah, you can create this documentation, and it's really useful. So
Justin and Mike, do you guys like have a perfect component? I'm just curious. Like, could you like, if I was like, pull it up right now, like, would you, or no? Does it not exist in your projects?
Define perfect component, like
good enough to like use as your source of truth for like AI to like generate additional things for that project.
I have some things that would be close.
Okay.
Because one of the things that I want to enforce is testing, and some of the testing that I have is not quite up to snuff. So nothing quite perfect at this point, but some things that are getting closer.
I just wanted to know if you had like, yes, the holy grail component that we all achieve to be, you know. Alfredo, do you and like in your projects you have like this is the one?
The newest is always the one, right?
Newest one. I love that. Every time is better. I love that.
Yeah. But yeah, here, so yeah, he likes to talk, so he gives you a lot of things.
You know, I can hear you, right? That's so rude.
and it tells you all the good things it applied. Yeah.
Remember, Alyssa, we talked about this a couple episodes ago. Like it doesn't have feelings. Remember, like
I don't
think
know,
it's fine.
man.
You can be rough with it.
I
It's okay
don't know. Have you ever
until it
asked
becomes
it?
sentient, and then we got problems.
I just worry that we're not going to realize when it's sentient. So we should prep ourselves for that, you know? Like
I mean, that's pretty smart. I would agree with that. Just in case, right?
Honestly, the blathering, like I like all the information, but I'm also like a little worried that like it's too much to like go through line by line and like make sure it's perfect. Does it need to be like what it just generated, for instance, Alfredo? Does that need to be what are we looking at here? Network
So
marker tools.
So we created a component models file because I told it that I love models file and services and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And we can open them and see them like it's following the same structure. Like in the other one, I was following single file component and it's trying to do its best. But what I like is that also at the end, it told me like, hey, I follow your TypeScript best practices, your Angular best practices, and the component best practices. So that is really good because it gives me like, okay, at least it tried to follow something. And let's see the moment of truth. Let's
Oh my
see if it
gosh.
actually added anything.
Did it?
I don't think so.
No?
No, I don't think so.
Aw.
It's really strange because it's not
I had
failing.
such high hopes. Is it
Yeah,
like
let's
added
see.
to that page? Like, can you go to that page's file and see like if it added an icon or something for it to pop up?
So we have the tool here. Let me see if we just miss adding it to the toolbar component here. Yeah, I think it just didn't add it here. But now with a cursor, we can actually do the finishing it up. And then this is like, okay, I don't find it. Then we can
It's
add it
not.
here. But the autocomplete is also super cool, right? Like it just jumps you to add the network marker. And then now if we go here, we have the tool. And here is like being super proactive. I didn't ask it to create all this, but now I can start.
Like, are you
creating the tool.
mad? Like, are you upset that all those extra features are there?
No, but I feel that I have to use that thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But also, dude, all you had to do was plug it in. Like it was just, and I think Mike, is that you in the chat talking about WebStorm?
No, no, but
That's
I wanted
me.
to add in though, because you asked, do you trust it? And to me, whether or not it's an AI tool or another developer on my team, it needs to go through some sort of review process before it actually gets merged and used and what have you. So
It's just
there
like
is a
really,
there is a level of trust, but
really interesting that you say that because I feel like in my head 90% of people would agree with that. But one of my really good friends is in the middle of their business team giving agents access to commit and to push live, and they're just going to do it. Like they're just free. They don't have enough devs or QA to even test. Like they're just going to do it. And I'm just like biting my nails, like watching as this unfolds. Cause I'm like, oh my God, they're just doing it because they can. I don't know. I'm just like, so I love that you say that, Mike. Cause like, I thought that's where everyone was.
not everybody, apparently.
Not everybody.
You have to send me a link so I don't use that. I need a level of trust.
Vibe coding and production. Yeah. Luke in chat said vibe coding and production. That's
I do have to run though. I have somewhere else I need to be. Appreciate your time, Alfredo. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
But honestly, I think that's so freaking cool. Does any of this work? Like if you tap on any of the bits and bobs, I'm assuming it works.
Yeah, and it's using the components that I created specifically for this tool. So it is good. Like I think it can just grow from there. It's even using the icons, and so it's a good starting point. And also what I liked is that it followed the rules that we just created, right?
No, absolutely. That's really cool.
I feel things really start to shine when you have your application code or your repository code, and you've established some architecture patterns and things like that. So you really know like how to describe to it what you want to do, as if you're describing another developer. And when you can be specific with those things, then it can just really shine to knock this stuff out, which is cool. Like you did here with your like, hey, look, use this other one as the example. I want to create a new, tool. I want to create a new icon, these sort of things. And it understands how to find that in your architecture. And you understand how to explain it because you've established that architecture. And then it just exponentially grows faster and faster as you got all this stuff.
Yeah, I think it has to be integrated into our development process because it helps a lot, right? Like once you finish something or fix a bug or something and you figure out how to create tests or how to do in an easier way state management, you can just document it at the end of the PR, get a review for the rules from other ones, and keep growing from there, right? And to the point that it should be more reliable.
I think that's really, really cool. I love everything you showed us today. We have like 3 minutes left. Is there anything else that you wanted to show us in regards to this tooling, or any shout outs you want to do before we wrap?
No, I think that's it for today. Maybe later on I can come up and show more like in how to use AI during the development process.
I would absolutely love that because I feel like there's a lot more to dive in here. But like this overview that you just gave was like, I feel like very empowering to just get started with Cursor, get started with writing rules. Oh yeah, Michael, thank you so much, Alfredo. This has been so freaking cool. Do you boys, Justin and Alfredo, have anything that you want to shout out inside or outside the tech community? It can be anything from the past couple of weeks that was like just helpful in your life or something cool that you want to like holler back at?
Yeah, I just want to plug our hash brown episode again. I've been playing around with that, trying to get deeper and deeper into it. I'm just super excited about that, and the AI and the tooling, the developer experience, and leveraging all this AI stuff to really help enhance developer productivity and standardization and stuff. So yeah, go watch that episode if you haven't. I mean, we pretty much have a series now of like,
I know. I was going to say, I think our last 3 or 4 episodes were AI, but all different, areas of AI and development. And so really, honestly, that's all about Alfredo was like, how do I get Cursor and all of my rules to work well now with Hash Brown and like Kendo UI, and like the wheels are moving. I'm so excited to go play with it, and I see how it could make you just like 10x on productivity. So thank you. Do you have anything, Alfredo, you want to shout out to?
Well, just to the Angular team, like I really appreciated that they came up with these rules like 1 week before my talk. So it was super useful.
It was like such good timing. Thank you so much. Yeah. No, I'm so glad that you are here because I was kind of wondering, I'm like, how is this useful? How is this powerful? And so seeing you put all the pieces together here in an Angular app was like chef's kiss. So absolutely love it. Yeah, David said, haven't used Cursor yet. This is so interesting. I know. I think this is my my kick into action to go and install Cursor this afternoon. So I love it. I have heard a lot of buzz about it. I just had not yet. Justin, are you using it at all in like development?
No, because corporations have a harder time, they could go through all kinds of steps and stuff to approve using that stuff. So where I'm at, we can't, but which it sucks, man, because it's like, so you're just eager, especially, I mean, we're in the web development industry, which changes all the time and which is super exciting. We talked about it before, the fact that like what we love about this is that we can make code and deploy it and people can use it like 5 minutes from now. So the excitement of living on the edge and moving fast with this stuff is cool. So it's always hard when you're in that realm and you're like, oh, Cursor is cool. This is cool. Oh, I can't use it, right? Like, oh,
yeah. You one day, Justin, I believe your team will get it. Oh, well, I think that is a wrap for today's episode, but do go check out our past ones. We've got a lot of AI stuff coming out and then things on soft skills and other things in Angular space as well. But thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, Zero Creeks shouting out. You've got a lot of people doing thanks for the stream in the chat, Alfredo. So it was beautiful. Yeah. We'll see you all on the next one next Friday. So bye, everybody.
Thank you. See ya.